Welcome boys to Pantherfest 2022, and I'm just going to be walking around showing you what we got here. I've already voted, so we're going to see who wins best in show, but we're just going to get some B-roll here for the channel. While we're walking, checking these dudes out, figure I'll tell you how I managed to get my car here in time. So 13 days ago, I was like, let me get the alignment checked, so I can make sure that she's good to go on a straight drive all the way from St. Louis, Missouri down to McEwen, Tennessee. And prior to that, the day before that, I changed the engine oil, the filter, replaced the water pump and coolant. This was all done preemptively. Didn't really need to be done. Wasn't required maintenance, more like elective maintenance. I decided to do it anyway, make sure, we don't have anything sus going on. The water pump wasn't leaking or anything. The oil still had some life left in it, but I figured we'd just go ahead and tidy her up for the show. I even cleaned the engine. I mean, cleaned it. WJ Handy Dad style. Spray the old simple green and purple power on it with the brushes. And then use the old leaf blower to dry the engine. And then the next day,
it does. You like them wild? 2010 thing. Is yours?
That's a really nice car.
She's saying that it's really loud. You guys want to hear a loud car?
huh?
We got something that goes really loud.
And after doing all that work preemptively, I went ahead and filled it back up with the new fresh coolant, driving to the... I just topped her off with fuel too. Just topped her off, and then decided to go ahead and drop her off for the alignment. Well, I come to a red light, and all of a sudden there's this huge white cloud of smoke just billowing out of the hood towards the windshield. I'm like, uh-oh, that ain't good. So I immediately checked the temperature gauge. It's not in the hot, it's still in the normal operating range. The engine sounds fine, but obviously we have a problem. So I'm less than a mile from the shop. So I drop it off. Managed to get it there. Katie's already there waiting for me because she was going to take me back home. And she was like, what's all that smoke? And I was like, well, obviously we have a catastrophic failure of sorts. There was a Lincoln Town car here. It was super clean. It rolled out, unfortunately. And
this one's, it's pretty loud on this side. I've got the cat's gone on that side. This side.
And so I opened the hood and I started inspecting it. And I'm like, well, I can't see where this leak is coming from. But the whole engine was completely covered in coolant, like after I had just cleaned it. So I was pissed. So then I found that the heater hose running from the intake manifold to the heater core. So on this car, it'd be this hose right there, the intake manifold coming up and going in there. It broke right at that nipple, and it puked its guts everywhere all over my car. And there's Katie. And so I was like, well, we just had a catastrophic intake manifold failure. The Reaper. And I was like, well, now we have 13 days, or I believe it was 12 days, to where we're leaving to go to Pantherfest. Like, so we gotta get this car back together with the quickness. So I was like, well, unfortunately, this happened to happen on the week that I am working double overtime. I'm going in, I'm waking up at 5 in the morning to be at work at 7, and then I'm not getting off until 10 o'clock at night. So I'm falling asleep maybe 11, 12, midnight, and then getting back up at 5 in the morning. So I'm exhausted. I don't have time to replace the intake manifold. And then the following week, the week leading up to it, this current week, I was like, now I'm working more hours, but I'm working the double. But now instead of getting off at 10, it's like 3 in the morning. So I didn't have time to replace the intake manifold myself. So I had to have the car towed to a local shop. But getting that car towed was kind of a pain in the ass because I had just rolled it into the plaza tire for the alignment. Well, no tow company wanted to come and pick it up. It's like, whoa, you might owe money and we're not going to tow it, blah, 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 blah. Even though it's like AAA, I'm paying the bill. I'm having it removed from a tire shop that's closed on Sunday anyway to another repair facility.
That Valor bar is
So,
because it does full plug and
you know, I don't understand what the issue is. So I got my sister's husband to give me a ride back home. And here's another fellow Umbrella Corporation car. Taking his flag. And he is the proud new owner of my old trunk organizer. So now I've got one, and he's got this one.
Take care of business our way or your way?
So Katie had to wait with the car for 4 hours while somebody came from Chester, Illinois to pick up the car and tow it a few miles down the street. So she had to wait 4 hours. I went home. I was like, well, I got to work in the morning. She was supposed to cut my hair. I can't be waiting for it. So I ended up just picking my own head, which is why my hair is ridiculously short right now. This is, I think, day 13 of after I had shaved it. This was one I voted for Best in Show. Katie had voted for that Westminster police car over there. There's our boy Mr. Random. His beasts are back here. So the shop managed to get the intake manifold replaced, and while I had taken it there, I told him, I was like, well, while it's here, I guess go ahead and replace the passenger side valve cover gasket, since I was going to do that anyway, but now the intake manifold's going to be off. You guys have easy access to it, so you can just do it so I don't have to. So they did that. I picked the car back up when it was done, got it home, but I could tell it was running funny, running real rough, like it was misfiring. But there was no engine lights at the moment, so I had to wait. Driving it around, engine light came on, and it was a misfire in cylinder 4. So then I was like, okay, great. That means the coil closest to where that nipple blew up on the intake manifold with the coolant hose. That's the one that shorted out. Obviously, hot coolant got all over it. Fine, not a big deal. I know that now. I keep like 8 spare coil packs in the trunk. Put it on, fix that problem. But then the engine was idling like obnoxiously high. Like I'm talking 1800 RPMs at an idle. So every time you shift from neutral, you're obviously neutral dropping it, which was not good. So took it back home, started unplugging things. When I unplugged the throttle position sensor, I noticed it ran better, like normal idle. So I was like, okay, well, that must be the problem. Replaced the, but mind you, I'm still getting off at 3 o'clock in the morning. So every morning, I'm going into work in the afternoon, getting off at 3 in the morning, coming home close to 4, getting out there in the driveway in the dark. I replaced the, and because I had a new intake manifold, I was like, well, I might as well get an oil catch can and, keep this one nice and clean on the inside. So install the oil catch can, 3 in the morning. Install throttle position sensor the next day. I went and I noticed the upper radiator hose had collapsed. So I had to replace that real quick. I get everything back together, like literally Thursday midnight, so it's technically now Friday morning, or I guess technically Thursday morning. Just rolled into Thursday. Boom, car's fixed, day before we leave. So I work that Thursday, get done on Friday, drive down here, and then that's when you know, I managed to make it here in one glorious go. No more problems. So we got all the parts back together on the car.
Yeah, and then a couple weeks later, he's like,
And then able to drive it here. So, you know, we clutched it essentially. We clutched getting here to Pantherfest 2022. Almost didn't make it, boys, but we did. And my only real regret, if you will, is that the intake manifold failed right before I had to be here on a week. I had to work too much. Because had that happened after this show, I would have had plenty of time to just drive the BMW to work. I could have installed the Ford Racing intake manifold on it, got myself an extra 30 horses. While the engine and everything, or while the intake manifold was already off, then I could have went ahead and put the catch can on, done the valve cover myself, and while the fuel rail and everything's off, put bigger injectors on it, and then modded my car with that E85 conversion kit that I bought that I haven't put on yet. So all that could have been done, but you know, we just weren't able to get that done. We didn't have the time, but you know, that'll be the future video. We'll have more time in the future. We'll be able to get the E85 conversion done. But that's it for now. Probably shoot another video a little later, but that's it. That's everything around here for Pantherfest 2022. Dale's over here, who's doing that Panther Crown Vic documentary, so I'll probably go interview with him. You'll see me on that. And I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching, boys. Peace.